Africa has reached a point where it will no longer bow to anyone. Today, the continent stands with dignity, pride, and unshakable sovereignty. South Africa recently made a bold move that shocked the world. Normally, when a country finishes its term as G20 president, its leader travels to the next host nation to hand over the leadership baton. This tradition has been respected for years. But this time, South Africa decided to break it. They refused to travel to the United States for the handover ceremony. Their message was simple: if you want the G20 presidency, you must respect us. We will not travel across the world to follow a tradition that benefits others more than it benefits us. This was not an act of disrespect, it was a declaration of dignity. South Africa wanted the world to understand that Africa is no longer a continent that can be pushed around. For decades, African leaders were expected to fly to Western countries seeking approval, support, or permission. That era is fading. By refusing the trip, South Africa demonstrated confidence and self-respect. They showed that Africa is equal, not subordinate, to global powers across the continent. Millions celebrated. Social media was filled with praise, calling it a historic moment for African pride. South Africa proved it could stand firm, even when facing a superpower like the United States. It reminded the world that Africa is rising more united, more confident, and less dependent than ever before. The world was even more shocked when the United States announced it would not attend the G20 summit in Johannesburg. For years, the U.S. has always shown up at these meetings. But this time, they sent no president, no vice president, not even a senior official. Many questioned the reason. Some said it was because the summit was in Africa. Others said it had to do with internal U.S. politics. Whatever the cause, the impact was clear. Many Africans felt deeply disrespected. They asked, if African leaders travel to America when invited, why can't American leaders travel to Africa? The U.S. absence only worsened tensions and raised doubts about how seriously America takes Africa. But instead of reacting with anger, South Africa responded with calm strength. They simply said, if you choose not to come, that is your decision. We will not beg. This dignified response caught the world's attention. It made many question America's approach while elevating Africa's image as confident and self-respecting. Then came the comments from former U.S. President Donald Trump, who claimed South Africa was unfit to lead the G20. His remarks were viewed as disrespectful not only to South Africa but to Africa as a whole. Trump has a long history of offending African nations, and his comments reopened old wounds. But once again, South Africa resisted reacting emotionally. Their response was steady and mature. We do not need your approval. We earned this position, and we deserve it. Across Africa, people saw this as a defining moment. They asked why African nations were treated differently from countries in Europe or Asia. Many young Africans, instead of feeling discouraged, became more determined. They said, we must rise, build our industries, strengthen our economies, and prove our power. South Africa's steady reaction showed leadership. It demonstrated that Africa can respond with wisdom, not rage. This sent a powerful message: respect must flow both ways. South Africa made it clear they would not chase anyone. Their calmness impressed leaders around the world. For decades, Africa was stereotyped as reactive or unstable under pressure. But South Africa proved that African nations can act with maturity and confidence. What this moment truly represents is something much larger: sovereignty and respect. Africa is no longer accepting a junior role in global politics. More African nations are saying, we are equal partners, not subordinates. We demand the same respect given to any region of the world. Africa is rich in culture, resources, and talent. With over 1.4 billion people, the continent supplies the world with minerals, energy, innovation, and human creativity. For too long, Africa was treated as a place that needs guidance or charity, but that era is ending. Sovereignty is more than a word, it is a mindset. We control our continent. We make our own decisions. We demand fairness and equality. Across the continent, a new Africa is emerging. Countries are building industries, expanding technology, growing energy sectors, and joining global alliances like BRICS. African youth, 60% of the population under 25, are becoming entrepreneurs, developers, and innovators. Nations like Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Ghana, and Tanzania are developing rapidly. Nigeria, Angola, and Mozambique are expanding energy production. South Africa, Egypt, and Morocco are advancing in manufacturing and technology. BRICS expansion is strengthening Africa's global position. More investment, more trade, more power, and less dependence on Western nations. Politically, Africa is becoming more independent. More leaders are rejecting foreign pressure and choosing partnerships that respect African interests. Regional unity is increasing through the African Union and economic blocs. The world is beginning to recognize that Africa is a rising global force. When South Africa announced it would not travel to the U.S. for the G20 handover, the entire continent erupted with pride. From Kenya to Nigeria, Ghana to Egypt, millions celebrated. They said, "This is the Africa we want: bold, confident, fearless." This one moment made Africans feel respected, valued, and empowered. It reminded people that Africa has the resources, the talent, and the potential to shape its own destiny. It also pushed young Africans to demand a future built on self-reliance, unity, and dignity. Foreign military presence like U.S. bases in Niger, Djibouti, Kenya, and Botswana has long given outside powers influence over African decisions. Many Africans now question how true sovereignty can exist when foreign armies operate on African soil. South Africa's bold actions reignited conversations about independence, unity, and security across the continent. Africa's biggest challenge has always been fragmentation: 54 countries, hundreds of languages, different currencies, different political systems. This division benefits foreign powers, who can pressure or manipulate one country at a time. Unity changes everything. A united Africa could control mineral prices, negotiate stronger deals, and build shared industries. Unity is the key to true independence. What South Africa did is more than politics, it is a symbol of a new era. Africa is no longer silent. Africa is no longer submissive. Africa is no longer waiting for permission. This new Africa is confident, assertive, and unafraid to speak the truth. Nations like Burkina Faso, Mali, and South Africa are showing the world that Africa will not kneel. More countries are choosing sovereignty over dependency. The rise of BRICS, the growth of African industries, and the surge in African innovation all show that Africa is becoming a major global player. South Africa's stand is a message to the world. Africa is awake. This is only the beginning. More African nations will demand fairness, respect, and equal partnership. This moment will be remembered as a turning point. The world must now sit with Africa as equals, not as masters. The sleeping giant has awakened, and nothing will ever be the same again.